Welcome to SuperTalk, the podcast that scratches your superhero itch. Just two suburban dads nerding out over superhero stuff on the small screen and the big. Buckle up, people. Enjoy the ride. Let's get this party started. And 3.
Welcome to SuperTalk, the weekly podcast dedicated to news and reviews of comic book media on the big and small screen. This is episode number 60, and I'm your host, Brian Professor Pattinson. With me, as always, is my illustrious co-host, Titanium Tony Estrella. Titanium,
Professor!
You survived the Comic-Con experience.
I did. I survived the Comic-Con experience. You were deeply missed. You were absolutely missed.
I felt like I was there with all of the photos and videos that you were sending me throughout the day. It really made me feel like I was physically there. But I apologize again to everybody for not being there. But I did have a wonderful weekend with my daughter in Knoxville, Tennessee. Got to spend some quality time with her.
Important stuff.
Yeah,
absolutely important stuff.
And hanging out with a bunch of other dads and their kids down there too. So we had a great time. But I'm sorry.
Saw a hell of a basketball game too, didn't you?
It was great. Yeah, they tried to find a way to blow up, but they ended up winning, undefeated at home, which is really 16-0 at home this year. That's awesome. pretty strong.
Go Vols!
Yeah, no kidding. All right, well, before we get started, we always want to thank the listeners that bring the show to you, and those are our patrons. Patreon.com/SuperTalk. To sign up to become a patron of the show, all you have to do is donate $1 for every episode we do. It's not a lot, but it really does help the show out. So if you want to become a patron, Patreon.com/SuperTalk. We'll send you a thank you note with some stickers in it. We do giveaways periodically for all of our patrons. So if you want to sign up, please do. Patreon.com/SuperTalk.
Yeah, sign up, be a patron, and mention if you went and saw and talked to me at the Comic-Con, mention that in there, and I'll send you a hat. I'll send you some swag right away.
Oh, well, there you go. That's all you need.
That's it.
From Titanium. Well, let's get started, and I do want to give you a little bit of time here at the beginning of the show to recap your experience at Fairfax Comic Con. So, how was it? You're still riding on a high, it looks like.
It was awesome. It was absolutely awesome. I didn't expect that many people to be there, and it was packed. And my expectations, I didn't know what to expect. I was going in there kind of blind. I went there the night before to kind of set up the table a little bit. And I met a few people, and I was like, wow, this is going to be pretty cool. And then that next morning at load-in, I got there late. Obviously, I didn't have a lot to bring. I wasn't unpacking, Funko Pops by the cartons. But got there, set up, and then it just exploded, man. It was very well run. Shout out to Avery. She's the showrunner out there. She was absolutely fantastic. Came by several times to say hello, see if I needed anything. First class. It was absolutely first class.
A lot of people in masks, but for different reasons, right?
Yeah, there were a lot of anime, there were 2 Scream characters walking around that was terrifying. A lot of Mandalorians. That whole crew was there. This little girl was, the lead Mandalorian with the fur on her shoulders that creates the armor. Her costume was spectacular. It was really cool. My wife, Nancy, God bless her, showed up as Wonder Woman, and she literally stole my show. Stole all the thunder out of the SuperTalk table.
People didn't want to come up and learn about the podcast. They wanted a picture with Nancy.
They wanted a picture of Wonder Woman. It was so cute how many girls were dressed up like Wonder Woman, and she took pictures with a lot of them. It was so cute the way they were so shy and taking pictures, and they were dressed up like Wonder Woman too. It was a huge little girl dressed up for Wonder Woman and princesses for some reason.
Oh,
but
sure.
A lot of, there were some guys in there that were like, hey, can we get your picture? As long as they were in front of the Super Talk sign, that's all publicity. So
right.
It was great. She was wonderful. Thank you so much, Nancy, for coming out and supporting the show, dressing like Wonder Woman. She left to get my daughter and her friends. And a lot of people were coming up to the table. It was like, hey, is Wonder Woman here? We wanted to get a picture. I was like, no, but here's a flyer. Please subscribe, download the podcast. But it was great talking to everybody.
And you did meet some listeners or watchers on YouTube, right? That was a kind of a cool experience.
It kind of made my day. A guy came up, and I don't know his name. He never told me his name, and he said, "Oh, SuperTalk podcast. You must be Titanium." I was blown. I was shocked. For the first time that whole day, I was tongue-tied. Like, wait a minute, somebody recognized me?
Right.
It was kind of, my ego was a little big, but got deflated real quick when somebody would come by and be like, "No, I don't want the flyer. No, I'm not into that. I'm just here for the anime stuff." I'm like, okay, I get that. That's cool. But, check us out if you want to.
So there's a few other things that you saw, or you want to kind of give some people some shout-outs.
Yeah, I want to give a shout-out to Decay Comics. They have a Kickstart going. Decay Comics. Anthony Stokes came by, gave me a free comic, and I told him I plugged the comics on the show. Thank you, Anthony, for the comic. It's a thriller horror comic. Really talented artist. This guy, you got to check him out.
So they have a Kickstarter campaign to
get
some support
support to kind of
cool.
It's not cheap to print these things.
No.
So really talented guy, Anthony Stokes. Thank you so much, Decay Comics.
So go to Kickstarter and look up Decay Comics, and if you want to
Decay
contribute to their campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And then SuperElements.com. This guy was fascinating. SuperElements.com. And I forget his name, but his whole concept is teaching kids about the periodic chart.
Periodic table?
Yeah, the periodic table. And what he does is he gives each element a superhero character. And I begged him, well, you got to name Titanium after Titanium Tony. He goes, well, my son picked that, but he's kind of older now and he's not really into it. So hopefully with this plug, Super Elements. And what he does is he gives each element a superhero, and he talks to kids about how the chemicals combined and how when you add this element to this element and this element, their powers create this and this. It's really cool concept. So he uses superheroes to
as an educational resource
for elements. I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you want to teach kids science,
what better way to do it?
Get them to relate to superheroes.
So, superelement.com, check him out. And lastly, this guy, so interesting. This guy started the 501 Legion, and they're a bunch of stormtroopers. They're cosplay stormtroopers, but what they do is they invite disabled veterans, amputees, and their whole concept is, when all these stormtroopers get blown up and they get their arms blown off and legs blown off, they get parts built back by mechanical parts. So that's what our whole concept is. We help veterans. All the proceeds go to veterans. So it's a 501 Legion. Check them out. Really, they're a cosplay group and club. Very cool stuff. The guy's name is Alan Kravitz. Sound familiar?
Worthwhile cause.
His cousin is Lenny Kravitz.
Lenny Kravitz? Yeah.
So his niece is Zoey Kravitz. He's going up to New York next weekend to see her sing and a thing. And I gave a sticker to him and said, hey, can you give this sticker to Zoey and tell her we're huge fans? And she was fantastic in the movie. We talked for a very long time. Alan Kravitz, thank you so much. We're definitely going to support and give you a shout out here, but I appreciate it. The 501 Legion.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'm really happy you were there. You said it was a long day. It was an exhausting day, right? But
so
worth getting in front of our people for sure. I mean, again, that's the audience we cater to, as you can imagine. And anybody that subscribes to our YouTube page, give us a like every now and then. Downloads our podcast. It really does help us out, and hopefully you made a few new fans, and we got a few new listeners, and that's all we can ask for. I mean, that's what we're in the business to give back to that community. So really, that's the only reason we're in this business is because we enjoy doing it so much. So hopefully some of those people will get some enjoyment out of our show.
Yeah, I need my right hand guy there though. I think you'd have a blast. I got cornered a couple of times with some serious questions in a comic book. I think I held my own for the most part, especially about Batman. I think I did very well on that. But some of the questions I was getting hit with, man, it would be right up your alley. I think you would have an absolute blast talking to these guys and these fans about comic books, because it's not just like,
it's a passion. Yeah.
Why is Gamora green?
Right.
Is she related to the Hulk? No.
Yeah.
Not with this crew.
Yeah.
It was about in-depth philosophy about mutants and how do you think they're going to incorporate them? Are we going to get, guys were rattling off the voice actors for X-Men 87. They knew them all. I was like, holy cow, am I out of my league? But I held my own. It was great. It was a lot of fun. But I need you there. I love you. This is going to be, we're going to keep doing these. We're absolutely
Yeah, so we know, again, I believe you were invited to another Comic-Con in Frederick, and we're not sure if we're going to be able to do that one or not. We're considering it. But there is another Fairfax Comic Con in August. And again, there's I just told Titanium there's only one reason why I wouldn't be able to be there, and that would be if we're moving kids into college. But we'll do our best to be there for sure. Absolutely want to continue to support the local comic book community. And these events, now that we're out, kind of on the tail end or getting out of the COVID pandemic, that we're all able to get together and be in the same place safely. Hey man, we're just all, I'm sure everybody was just happy to be there.
It was really, it was packed again, and I learned a lot. We're going to do a little bit. I'm going to be there in August. Please come out and see me. I'm going to be more prepared with a lot more giveaways.
And things study like a little bit so you can answer questions.
I think I have my own, Professor. I really did. I felt pretty good about all my answers and the questionings and some of my philosophies and views. So yeah, we'll get into a little bit later when we talk about Batman. But yeah, I thought I did probably. Don't get me wrong. I would have loved for you to be there so you could take some of the heat off of me for sure. And by the way, I did not sell the gentleman that offered $50 for the Young Avengers. I'm glad I didn't accept that, because that is Young Avengers #1, and that's Professor's only copy. So
he's like, I think that's a pretty good offer. I'm like, yeah, it's probably what it's worth, but I don't want to sell it. It could be worth twice that much when the Young Avengers movie comes out.
That's
right?
True. Very true.
All right, well, great. I'm glad you went, and thank you for all those people that came up and visited with Titanium. And
thank you for all that downloaded the podcast. We've seen a huge spike. Thank you for following and
subscribing
for everything. We've seen a huge spike in social media and the podcast. So thank you so much.
Yeah, great. And again, we're going to look to do more of these, absolutely. And if I am able to be there at the next one, we will record our podcast live from the Comic-Con, and that will be, I'm sure, very entertaining as well.
That will be interesting.
Live shows are always, we've done one live show already now, and plan to do more. I think we have another potential live show somewhere in the local region here coming up this summer as well.
Another brewery, this summer. Another brewery, absolutely.
So live shows are always fun, and I think we were both pleasantly surprised how well the last one went. But yeah, it'll be a lot of fun.
Cool.
We'll do it.
Absolutely.
All right, well, let's move on. We're going to actually punt the review section this week. We have one thing to review, and that's the Batman movie, which just happens to be our topic of the week. So we're going to push that for a little bit. We're going to jump right into the news section. So, look, you and I went and saw the Batman on Thursday, and we'll get into our review of the movie here shortly. But, not surprised how, the movie theater was pretty crowded for Thursday night, the first time you could actually see it. But it did really well in the box office this weekend. So second highest opening movie of the pandemic. So right behind Spider-Man No Way Home, as everybody can imagine. Spider-Man No Way Home did like $250 million or something in its first weekend.
$242 million, yep.
Yeah. But this one, I had put in here that they had a $57 million opening day, which includes Thursday night and Friday night is
huge.
Their opening day. $57 million, which was huge. And I had that they were going to do over $128 million. What was the final total?
$134 million. It came in at $134 million.
So second highest grossing opening weekend for a pandemic movie, which is great.
Yeah.
I mean, so obviously, this movie was delayed a long time, and it was a long time coming, and we had a lot of questions and concerns around how successful it was going to be and if there was going to be a response to it. And look, people are responding with their wallets.
Yeah, I think so. I think the crowds came out in force for this Batman movie, and When we get into it, I'll give you my feelings about it. But yeah, it did very well in the box office.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, hey, again, we'll talk about the actual movie and what we thought of it here shortly. But great to see that people are actually coming back out into the movie theaters, paying good money to see these types of films on the big screen, because frankly, it's where they should be seen. And I can't imagine having had to watch this on my television. I mean, you got to see movies like this.
The only thing better would have been a Blu-ray DVD with a quality sound system, because and even then it wouldn't do it justice. Go see it in a theater.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is spectacular.
Yeah. And we got another kind of star, Oscar Isaac, on Saturday Night Live. I don't know if you caught any of that, or he's going to be promoting Moonknight pretty strongly.
That's awesome. Yeah. Ethan Hawke came out on social media this week and said that Oscar Isaac's performance rivals Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man.
Really?
Oh yeah. He says his character and the way he's portrayed this character rivals Robert Downey Jr.'s comparison to Tony Stark.
That's a pretty strong.
I don't think it gets any higher praise than that, does it?
No, that's pretty strong. And you know what? This guy's a star, right? He was in the Star Wars.
I loved him
trilogy.
in Dune.
Yeah, it was really good in Dune. I mean, he's a top-notch actor, and we've said this a million times. Marvel gets it right with casting.
They really do.
I think by casting Oscar Isaac as Moon Knight, I think that says a lot about the future of this character in the MCU. They're not just looking at this limited, Disney Plus series as the only time we're going to see this guy. He's going to be around, and there's probably some big projects we know nothing about yet that will have him attached to it and his character of Moon Knight attached to it. And you and I are super excited about this. So.
Oh yeah, I cannot wait. I think it's going to kickstart even Feige said it. Kevin Feige said it, that this is something different. This sets the tone. It changes the tone.
It's a tonal shift
completely.
Yeah.
This is something different. This is Moon Knight. This is going to change the tone of the DCU, and obviously it's going to be huge to change the tone. I mean, they're putting the Punisher on Disney Plus. They're putting Daredevil on Disney Plus.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, that's coming out on the 16th, which is a week from Wednesday or Tuesday? Wednesday. Week from Wednesday.
Okay.
So, yeah, a week from Wednesday, we're getting all those Netflix Marvel projects on Disney Plus, which, again, you're not... I mean, we were shocked that they were putting those on. We thought they were going somewhere else, but for them to be on Disney Plus, so what that tells me is I'm not going to be surprised by anything I see in Moon Knight.
No, I think it'll be as brutal and as violent as he said it was going to be, and I don't think they're going to hold back.
Yeah, and again, the fact that we've already seen in some of the trailers, there's going to be a supernatural undertone to the series. We know Werewolf by Night is already in that. We see him wailing on him in a bathroom somewhere at one point in time.
Or you said it could be a jackal, like one of the...
I think it's Werewolf by Night by now. I think by now everybody's kind of feeling that since we know the Werewolf by Night series is coming to Disney Plus around Halloween time frame, and there's rumors that may be where we see Blade the first time too.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Yeah, so I do think it's Werewolf by Night. And,
okay.
We'll obviously learn more here in a couple of weeks, but there's going to be a supernatural undertone to this series, and I think that is leading us towards a Midnight Suns type of thing. I can't wait. I mean, really, it's just, it's so exciting. So
this is definitely a limited series.
6 episodes, right?
6 episodes. Yeah. They're not going to just give up this huge actor. They've locked him down for a couple of films. This is going to start off something huge. You can't just let this guy go.
No.
A limited series, 6 episodes isn't enough Moon Knight for everybody. And it's going to be I think it's going to be very successful. And when it is, they're going to realize, hey, wait a minute. Whatever projects we have, we need to start gearing us towards these really popular characters.
Absolutely. So But again, the promotional train for Moonknight has already started with Oscar Isaac on SNL this week. It was a big, hey,
It's this Saturday.
No, it was last Saturday.
Oh, okay. I got to check that out.
Yeah, it was already. There's clips on YouTube and everything else. So yeah, it was already done.
I was exhausted. I think I went to bed early.
I went to bed early after Comic Con, but yeah. So that's again, the promotional train is running. So I think we're going to see even more, and who knows, we may get another trailer for Moonknight here in the next week or two before the series comes out on the 30th.
Yeah, we know Werewolf by Night is going to have a Halloween special. It would be great if we saw Blade in that. Absolutely fantastic. And I agree with you. I think we're going to see Werewolf by Night in this series.
Yeah, I think that's him. Yeah. And speaking of, so we know typically Marvel, we talked about last week, Marvel announced their new movie schedule all the way through 2024 with some dates with untitled projects, no titles associated with those dates, and we're hoping that sometime we're going to get some of those announcements. There is a Disney Investor Day announcement coming this Wednesday. I believe it's Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. I think if you go to disney.com/investors, I believe it's a public announcement, so it's for all the Disney investors. And they have typically tended to make some announcements on that Disney Investor Day about upcoming projects. We're hoping we might get another trailer for Moonknight. We might get the Thor: Love and Thunder trailer. You made comments last week that you felt that Marvel was going to let Batman have its weekend, and then potentially we might get that first teaser trailer this week. I'm a little bit less confident about that than I was, because I hear they're still trying to finish that movie.
Yep.
But I did hear that we might be getting the Ms. Marvel trailer during the Investor Day conference on Wednesday.
That would make more sense than Thor: Love and Thunder. I don't think we're going to get Thor. I'm a little bit less confident after hearing. Listen to this. Ready? I'm going to try it. Taika Waititi. Taika Waititi.
Yeah.
After hearing him on social media talk about how the film really isn't finished yet. We're still in post-production on that.
Yeah, he said it probably won't be done till the end of June.
Yeah.
And it comes out in July.
I don't believe him one bit. I absolutely think we'll have that trailer before or at Doctor Strange 2.
And that would be really late. So typically these trailers come out 120 to 115, 110 days before the movie. I think the longest we ever had to wait for a trailer...
240 days.
240 days what?
240 days was the earliest a trailer come out.
I'm saying, but the longest we had to wait was Spider-Man No Way Home. I think that was like 108 days or something. I think because there was so much hype and they didn't want to let anything out, and so it took very long for us to get that. But I mean, we're in that window right now when they should be at least giving us a teaser for Thor: Love and Thunder.
At least a teaser. Give us a teaser.
Right. Something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would be surprised if we don't get something in the next couple of weeks. Definitely, maybe the week before Multiverse of Madness comes out, I would think that would make a lot of sense. But that would be a long time. I mean, gosh, you're talking about less than 2 months from when Thor: Love and Thunder is coming out. Multiverse of Madness comes out May 6th, and Thor: Love and Thunder is like July 7th or something like that. I mean, it's like it's right there. So I mean, that's only 2 months. I mean, that's nothing. 60 days.
Well, you want to build some hype for the film, obviously, but you don't want to take the steam out of Doctor Strange 2. It's a tough call. I don't know.
Yeah, it wouldn't take the steam.
I would say if they released it now after Batman, which I originally predicted or thought would happen.
I'm crossing my fingers for Wednesday, so I'm hoping.
That would be great.
At least a teaser
I wouldn't mind
trailer.
a Miss Marvel trailer.
Yeah, so I think we were under the assumption that She-Hulk was going to be the next series we saw on Disney Plus. But again, the rumors now are we're going to get that Ms. Marvel trailer, which could mean that Ms. Marvel will be the series that comes out in June after Moon Knight makes its run. So, and that may come up before Thor: Love and Thunder. So, hey, give us as much information as you can. If we get a trailer, so here's the thing: if we get a trailer for Ms. Marvel, we're also going to get a date. I have a hard time believing they're going to show us a trailer for that series without a date.
They can't say summer 2022.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
I agree with you, Professor.
All right, and then you had some other news of Elizabeth Olsen signing a contract extension over at Marvel, right? And this is, again, not surprising. But
No, it's not surprising, but it's good to hear that they nailed her down for another 7 years.
So she has a little bit of plot armor in this movie, is what you're saying. She's not
so.
going anywhere. Her character's not going anywhere.
Die. Yeah.
Right. And
they're not going to kill her off in this movie.
And from what we understand, Kevin Feige is a huge Elizabeth Olsen fan. Yeah. Definitely loves the character of Wanda Maximoff. I think, he's come out publicly and said she is going to play a very big pivotal role in the future of Marvel. So a 7-year contract.
Yeah.
That tells you she's not going anywhere.
At least 5 episodes in Agatha Harkness.
She's going to be in that?
At least 5 episodes. They've confirmed that she's going to be in at least 5 of those. At least. Could be more, could be less, but that's a good sign.
Oh, man. Well, now I can't wait for Harkness to come out. House of Harkness, right?
They say it's supposed to start filming this fall.
Well, that'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. All right. Well, that's it for our news this week, and let's jump right into the topic of the week, brought to you by our friends over at Studio GG Studios, home of the main band, Corn on the Cob, all the way from South Carolina, helping us out all the time.
Studio GG Studios, thank you, lovely bastards. Love you guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I spent some time with Tiny Tim this weekend, and boy, I've got some stories to share with you, but we'll save those for after the show.
He's a varsity show.
Oh.
He doesn't play JV. He's not on the freshman team. He is 100% varsity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, our topic of the week this week, to nobody's surprise, is our review of the Batman movie. We'll preempt this by saying we're not here to spoil the movie for you. If you haven't seen the movie, I'm not here to tell you anything and everything that happens, but we are going to talk about things that happen in the movie.
Yeah.
That if you haven't seen
Spoiler
it yet,
alert. Yeah.
This might be a time to tune out and come back after you've seen the movie. But, we're not going to give away everything, but I do want to talk about some things that, weren't shown in the trailers and stuff like that. But spoiler alert, spoiler warning, we will talk about some stuff that happened in the movie. So if you haven't seen it yet, fair warning, I guess I will say, right?
Yeah, if you're still listening, if you're still watching, you've been warned. So,
so let's start with just your overall impression. Again, we went Thursday night, 7 o'clock. We did not walk out of there until 10:15, 10:20.
Yeah.
So look, first thing I'll tell everybody, it is a long movie. It is 3 hours solid.
Yeah.
And for me, it probably was a little too long and dragged a little bit at times, but it wasn't bad. I mean, it wasn't like
annoying.
It wasn't like, oh my God, just get to the point already.
Yeah.
No, it was long, and I felt like, okay, it could have been shorter. But one of the things I'll give Matt Reeves a lot of credit for is he used the time of the movie to build tension and to build some of the drama that was going on in the movie, so that when it reached its climax at the end, it was through all of the buildup that had gone on throughout that time.
Yeah.
And I felt at times that, it was moving slow, but it was done so well, and the actors were doing such a great job that it didn't make me feel like, what's happening here? Get to the point. No, it was all very entertaining, but it did feel that sometimes I'm like, oh my God, we got an hour left. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And so it's a long movie.
Yeah. Greg Vire, who we saw the movie with, that was his really only criticism, is that it was a little long, but he said that it was different than any Batman movie he's ever seen. So I think he really enjoyed it. And my only criticism as well is it is a little long, but it's not like you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs. You don't want to get up and go to the bathroom at any point in time of the movie because you're afraid of what you're going to miss.
The plot does continue to move forward.
Yes.
They are continuing to introduce new concepts and new characters and build on, again, Matt Reeves did a really good job of, like, every scene there was some kind of tension that they were trying to kind of navigate, and he really did a good job of building that. And it was, from my perspective, very much a crime movie. It was all about the detective, Batman the detective, solving crimes and with, in cooperation with the police, and we know the whole history behind it, that The police know he's a vigilante, know he's operating outside of the law, but they also, obviously Detective Gordon especially believes that they need him, that he's important, and that he can help them.
Calls him in on certain things.
Couple
of
things. They're like, what's he doing here? It's let him through. He needs to come and check this stuff out, right? Yeah.
Well, one of the best characters in the movie really helps with the time frame of how long the film is. It gets you through the film seamlessly. One of the best characters in the movie. And when I say characters, I mean, I feel like the music of this film was its own character. It was spectacular. It was so good and created this tension and fear and horror and anticipation. It was so good. The music really, there's a Nirvana song in there.
Something in the Way by Nirvana, that was in
spectacular. It's just so good, and that really helps with
the score. So that what Titanium's referring to is that every scene had this underlying score, and that's what I kind of meant by like there was like a haunting tension to the score
absolutely.
of the movie, and it kind of, you're like, wow, it felt like, and
at any moment something could happen.
If you've seen the trailer, there's definitely a dull and dark undertone to the cinematic, vision that Matt Reeves had, and it's not like these bright lights, sunshine movie. It's like every day was overcast.
Yeah.
Like every scene was dark.
Yeah.
And made you feel like it was like, you ever see Seven, the movie Seven?
Of course.
With Brad Pitt,
it's always
Morgan
raining.
Freeman.
Yeah.
It's like it was a detective story that was a horror film at the same time.
This is a detective thriller.
Right. That's what
very
I felt
much like. And I said this a lot at Comic-Con when we were getting into discussions. They said, "So what do you think about it?" Like he said, "What would you compare it to? What Batman movie would you compare it to?" And I said, "None. I can't compare it to any Batman movie. I would compare it to the Zodiac Killer and Seven." And blend those two movies in, and that's what you got.
And you just happen to have a superhero, or
Batman as the detective.
Yeah, is
but
the detective.
Very similar to Seven, horror, thriller, kind of crime, a crime, true detective kind of story, and it's very smart. Like it's a smart, well-written story plot about a very serious criminal mind that's brilliant in himself, and them trying to figure him out and catch him.
Yeah. So let's talk about the individual characters themselves. I thought, you and I walked into this movie. I personally, my expectations were pretty low. I didn't.
So you liked it?
Yeah. No, it exceeded my expectations for sure. I didn't have a lot of expectations around, Robert Pattinson as Batman. I didn't really. I'm not invested in him as an actor, nor was I disappointed that he was playing the role. I was like, okay, we'll see what he does with it.
Yeah.
But I wasn't like, oh my god, I think this might be the best Batman movie I've ever seen. My expectations were pretty low, but it exceeded my expectations, and I'm glad that I went in there not expecting much. It did it. When movies like this is what we dealt with Black Widow. It was delayed so long, and we had seen the trailer so many times. I felt like by the time I saw the movie, I knew exactly what was going to happen. I knew the entire movie.
Not the case.
When I walked into this, we had seen a lot of trailers, and we'd even seen the extended scene of the funeral service for the mayor. And I'm like, do I already know everything that's going to happen? No. The movie's so long that they could have shown us like 12 trailers, and you never would have seen it all. But I think, again, it exceeded my expectations. I really enjoyed it. I personally think this might be my second or third favorite Batman movie of all time, which says a lot. The only reason why I would put one of the Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson, probably the first Batman movie, it's nostalgia purposes. It's because it was the first,
sure.
And it was
same reason I have Iron Man at number one.
It was the first. It was Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson, which was just spectacular. And then The Dark Knight Rises, which was Heath Ledger obviously won an Oscar for his portrayal as the Joker. That's my favorite. I think that's the best Batman movie that's ever been made. This is either number 2 or number 3. Literally, I liked it that much. It was that good.
For me, I think it's, and let me try to explain this. And I was telling this story a lot. For me, it's on par with my favorite Batman movie, which is The Dark Knight. So I think this movie is on par with The Dark Knight. I really do. It's so different. It's hard to compare this to anything that Christopher Nolan did or Tim Burton or any of the other Batman directors. It's so hard to do it because this is just so different. But it is on par with The Dark Knight, my favorite Batman movie. And I think it might, the Batman movies, as far as they go, there's several different rankings, but for me, that's where that is. Now, as far as Batmans are concerned, I would have absolutely Christian Bale as my favorite Batman. I think he's just a spectacular actor. I think he did a really good job. I think Robert Pattinson did more acting with his eyes and with his stoic silence and just being the look at Batman. He did a great job at that. But he had maybe 10 lines in the whole movie. He didn't speak a lot.
There wasn't a lot of dialogue from him. Yeah.
So, but his presence and his eyes told the story. I thought he did phenomenal. Michael Keaton has got to be number 2 for me, right? And then I put Robert Pattinson behind them, and then Ben Affleck. That's my... So that being said, with him at number 3, and this movie right up there with one of my favorites. I mean, when the Batmobile... It actually gives me goosebumps when you see it for the first time.
Oh my god!
And that Banshee scream that it had, and the way
the turbo engine Banshee scream when he got in the car, that was awesome.
Everybody was like, "Oh!" Like you could just hear the theater rumbling and vibrating.
You saw the Penguin like freaking out. He's like, "What the hell is that noise?"
Oh my god!
Yeah.
It was so powerful. Another great scene in this movie, I think, was the way the music... There was a couple of crimes going on, and there's different crimes going on. And then these criminals are committing these crimes in the beginning of the movie. And they go outside. It's very dark, and they go outside, and they see at different points of the shots, they see the bat signal. And all of them look at the bat signal and immediately turn to the shadows. And they look in the shadow, and the music is building like... Oh my, he's going to walk out of that shadow any minute. Second, yeah. He's going to walk out, and the fear that they had was so real. One of the guys gets hit by a car because he's so distracted. He's like staring in this dark alleyway, and you think the Batman is going to come out of that dark alleyway any second now.
That was the beginning of the movie. It was great.
It was insane. To start the movie that way, I got goosebumps. Those goosebumps. And then he actually does come out in the subway. He does emerge from one of the dark shadows with this gang of face criminals that are about to destroy this guy. It was so well done. The shots, the cinematography was spectacular. You got to go see it in a theater. But that set the tone for the whole movie, didn't it?
That was the first 10 minutes of the movie, and it really was
spectacular.
I mean, and again, it goes back to, I think, the first Batman Begins movie with Christian Bale did a real... I mean, they did have to go into kind of the origin story of Batman, but it really did a good job of explaining why he chose the Bat to be his kind of persona. Because, he fell into the cave, the bats, swarmed him and surrounded him, and
he had so much fear.
Created so much fear that he's like, okay, this can inspire me to be the fearful, agent of vengeance that this city needs. And that, I thought that was a great explanation of why the Bat was what he chose there. They didn't do any of that in this movie. There was no origin story. We didn't go into the background of how he became Batman. But I thought that scene did a great job of explaining how he used, fear to take out the criminal element of the city. Like, every criminal knew there was a Batman. Every criminal did not want him to show up, and it was really cool.
Yeah, it totally set the tone of the movie.
And in a lot of ways, which we found out throughout the movie, you understand why he was so necessary, because, 75% of the police force ended up being on the take, and they couldn't be trusted.
Under Falcone,
right? Yeah, they couldn't be trusted, so... the criminals were running rampant, and so Batman felt like he needed to be out there, and that was what was so great about Jeffrey Wright's Detective Gordon, was that he recognized that the police were losing.
Yeah.
This is a battle they're losing, and he needed his help. And man, I do want to get into those individual character portrayals because I think they were all incredibly powerful for very different reasons.
Besides the Batmobile and the music themselves.
Yeah. But I mean, I think Robert Pattinson did way better than I expected.
Absolutely.
To your point,
Agreed.
He wore the uniform very well, played the character very well. I think he was physical enough without being, overly physical. He really did a great job. I think. I will say that he's up there with people that have played Batman. He did a really, really, really bang up job of playing that character. So I thought that was great. Zoey Kravitz as Selena Kyle / Catwoman, and we got. This was she was the co-star of this movie. I mean, this was a Catwoman, Selena Kyle movie as much of it was a Batman movie. Really got into her character, her history, her background, her relationship with him. I thought that was fantastic as well, but she was awesome in that role.
Yes.
Really, really portrayed that role really well, and you kind of understood why she became that character. And we learn about that in the movie with, the fact that she was Falcone's daughter, and her mom was murdered by him, and all so she had this vendetta, and she decided to kind of go out on her own and do her own thing, and ended up working for. I mean, it was crazy,
off the charts chemistry between her and Robert Pattinson, way better than Christian Bale and Anne Hathaway. I think their chemistry was okay, but that was way less believable. I mean,
Michelle Pfeiffer and Michael Keaton
off the charts. Michelle
good.
Pfeiffer was fantastic.
Yeah.
But that chemistry was way better than the Christian Bale and Hathaway chemistry, and this chemistry is up there at number one.
But that just goes to show you the different ways that Tim Burton and Matt Reeves chose to build and portray those characters. Tim Burton was absolutely going for the comic book accurate, a callback to the Adam West, Batman movies of the 60s, a Batman TV show of the 60s, kind of really making these villains comedic villains, right? There's something disturbed about them. The way that Matt Reeves chose to portray Selena Kyle Catwoman was really about humanizing the character and then describing how that character became the villain / Catwoman, and she's more of an anti-hero in this movie, and I think ultimately that's the way she was portrayed in the comics as well, but she did a great job.
Unbelievable job.
Fantastic.
I agree with you. It was definitely, she was the co-star.
Jeffrey Wright as Detective Gordon, probably my favorite Detective Gordon ever. He was so good.
Yeah.
Just his mannerisms, the way that he speaks, the way that he interacts with Batman, the way that he interacts with his fellow cops.
The subtle way he played both sides. I really dug that. I liked the subtle way he played both sides. He was in Batman's court, and he knew he had to play ball with what he knew was corrupt cops.
Right.
He knew he had to play ball. The way he played both sides was brilliant.
Yeah, he was fantastic. I thought that was just such a perfect casting. He did such a great job there. I was really, really pleasantly surprised at how well he took on that role and how well he came off on screen. I thought the partnership between him and Batman, he doesn't know who the guy is. He doesn't know what motivates him. He has no idea, nothing about it, but he just knows he's good.
Yeah.
He's good at what he does. Get out of the way. Let him get in here and figure stuff out.
We're losing the fight on crime.
Right. Colin Farrell as Oswald Copperpot, who in the movie went by Oz, we know becomes or is the Penguin character. Unrecognizable.
Yeah.
Like, if you weren't told that was Colin Farrell, you never would recognize him. As a matter of fact, he was on my favorite YouTube show, next to SuperTalk, of course, Hot Ones. He was on Hot Ones last week, and Sean Evans, the host of Hot Ones, interviewed him and asked him, said, what's it like being in one of these, fat suits and, having all this prosthetics all over your face to kind of change your appearance? He says, is it restricting or is it liberating? He goes, it's the most liberating thing that I've ever experienced in my life, because the minute that I was in the suit and had all the stuff on my face, I became that character, and I felt like nobody would know who I was, and I could be whoever I needed to be. And he said it was the most liberating thing that ever happened, and that came across on screen.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was awesome.
A lot funnier than I thought.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he was great.
Without, obviously without the Irish accent and everything else, but he was amazing. Yeah. And from what we understand, Matt Reeves is going to be doing a limited series on HBO Max later this year, featuring Colin Farrell as Oswald Copperpot, showing how he rises to power and takes after Falcone gets killed in the movie, how he kind of takes over and becomes this, mastermind criminal villain. So we're getting that later this year on HBO Max that Matt Reeves is doing. He was awesome, unrecognizable.
He went out to a Starbucks and got coffee as the Penguin, and no one recognized him. No one even gave him a second look. He just this weird guy. He said he ordered coffee in the voice, the Penguin voice. He was totally in character. Just brilliant. He was a lot funnier than I thought he was going to be, and a pivotal character for sure.
Yeah, and I, you kind of see where Matt Reeves is going with this, and we'll talk about the ending of the movie a little bit later about where they're going with some of these villains. But again, I love the fact that these villains are humanized. They're not the comic book, portrayals. They're human. He's giving real explanations as to how and why they are the way they are.
Everything from his tech down to the Batmobile. You're not getting this spaceship of a Batmobile. You're not getting these unrealistic tech. He's got some tech in the film, that's for sure, and he's got some gadgets, but it's not.
But it seems realistic.
It seems realistic. It's not so heavily sought in these unrealistic gadgets and things like that.
Well, and again, when in Christian Bale's Batman, we got the explanation behind how he had all these crazy gadgets. It was the R&D department of the Wayne Foundation that had been defunct. It was military stuff that they had developed and kind of shelved, and he just started, that's why it's so high tech. There's none of that in here. This is all stuff that Robert Pattinson supposedly came up with on his own, and it's stuff that you could probably build. But that was great. Paul Dano as the Riddler, off the charts, great portrayal of that character. Just played a insane criminal mastermind, serial killer, like you mentioned. Like, he really kind of made you feel like he was portraying the Zodiac killer on screen.
Yeah.
But and the reason the Riddler, all the letters that he would leave for Batman, all the riddles that he would leave behind, there was meaning behind it. The cipher that he used to kind of code each one of those was brilliant.
Zodiac killer.
But he did such a great job. I mean, he was freaky and scary.
Very scary.
Yeah.
Like, he was actually terrifying.
Yeah.
You didn't see a lot of his face until the very end of the movie. But just his method acting when he was doing video shots and the way he talked, and very good. It definitely set fear. Like, this guy, you knew he was psycho.
You knew they were hunting a serial killer that was mentally disturbed and has some big time issues, and again,
smart.
Incredibly intelligent, like just super, and had been thinking about this for years. You could tell, and but he did such a great job. Andy Serkis as Alfred, I thought did very well as well. Did a very good job. I think his role in the movie was very diminished. Like, he was on a backseat character for sure.
Yeah, that was one thing that I was a little surprised of. They really, although they let you you realize the chemistry between them and how much they meant to each other and they mean to each other. But really, a diminished role. That's a great word, because I agree with you. And I was surprised.
Alfred's always been a very
bigger role.
Michael Caine played Alfred, right? I mean, these are like people that you just don't hide on screen. And I thought Andy Serkis did a very good job of showing their relationship and how basically he runs the everyday, day to day of Wayne Manor and everything else. But He was not on screen a lot.
No, my friends Gavin Klingham and Chip Klingham, his dad, mentioned this to me the other day that they were shocked at the different type of role that he played in this movie.
Yeah. And I think his role will expand as we go on in the movies, I'm sure. But I thought he did a very good job, though. I mean, I think it was a good casting for sure. And then the last one that really had a prominent role in the movie was John Turturro as Carmine Falcone. And, I thought it was a very good casting. I think he did a very good job. I can't get beyond. I remember seeing him in so many different roles. He's been in a ton of stuff that, I always kind of see him portray other, if I remember the original Transformer movies where he was like the conspiracy theorist agent, right?
Yeah.
So it's so funny to kind of see him in that role, but he did a very good job too.
He plays a great slime ball.
Yeah, he does. He did a very good job.
He did a good job
of playing that role. So I thought the cast was great and did a bang up job in the movie. And that's frankly one of the best parts of this movie is they put really good actors in really good roles and they played those roles really well.
It was written very well too. It was very smart, written very well, very dark, very. Like we've said, a thriller, a detective thriller.
So let's talk about. I don't want to spend time breaking down the entire movie because that we would be here for way too long. But let's talk about some of your favorite scenes in the movie. So
I mentioned two of them right off. The beginning when the criminals are creating, doing crime acts and the bat signal, and then they look into that music and the way it's playing. The scene where he's walking into the first crime scene where the mayor's been killed and Nirvana's playing in the background, and just the way the tone and the pace of that and how he's looking at everything and solving this mystery of what happened when the detectives that are standing around and the police are clueless. I thought that was brilliant. The banshee scream and Chip Klingham and Gavin Klingham absolutely lost their mind about the Batmobile and that one scene when it fires up and you don't even see it. It's like literally you're like looking 5 minutes at the car as it kind of jerks forward and it's revving and there's flames coming out of the unbelievable.
The whole car chase was amazing.
Spectacular.
That was just great.
The cameras mounted to the tires and the side of the vehicles, and as the car skids out, it shows the Penguin's car flipping and how the Penguin's looking at him, coming at him with the flames in the background, and he's upside down.
It's like Batman had spurs on his shoes. Like every time he would walk, you could hear the spurs on his shoes.
Spectacular.
It was
sound,
so good.
Music was spectacular. A couple of the scenes with him and Selena or Zoey Kravitz, those scenes were great. The way that they are back and forth in their chemistry, especially when they're in that abandoned building and it's like the sun rising. It just unbelievable. Great cinematography. And then I would think the last scene where he is one of the last fight scenes where he realizes that. He's got to become more than just vengeance. He's got to become more than just setting fear into the hearts of these criminals. He has to become
a hero.
Hope, a hero, and have hope. And I had a long discussion with the Klinghams about this. That was such a pivotal role because remember, this is year 2 Batman. This is year 2 for him, and he's been through this vengeance cycle for 2 years. Now he's realizing that there's more and that his work is really cut out for him now because Gotham is going to be wide open and he's got to really step up to be hope for this city, not just vengeance and set fear. I don't think he's ever going to get away from that. But the fact that he's going to have hope and set hope and help people. And you saw that at the end, and I thought that was great. And then, of course, the end credits. The
final scene of the movie.
Not really an end credit scene, but one of the final scenes of the movie where you get the Riddler in Arkham Asylum, and he's talking to his cellmate, which was very interesting. I guess it's the Joker.
The Joker.
Everybody thinks it's the Joker.
Yeah, it's being played by Barry Keoghan, who was
in the Eternals.
In the Eternals, yeah. So
Druid in the Eternals.
Druid in the
Druid.
Druig. Yeah. In the Eternals. Yeah, he
was one of my favorite parts of that movie.
Yeah, but had the hysterical laugh, and everything.
Throws out a riddle to him, and he's like, "Friend,
riddle me this." He's like,
Awesome.
The less you have, the more valuable each one is.
Friends, yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I had 3 specific ones. The first time he shows up at the Ice Bar, which is where Penguin works, but it's Carmine Falcone's bar. He shows up as Batman the first time. He says, "I want to talk to Falcone," and you got the twins who are the guards at the door, and he just wrecks them. And then he walks in and is just basically being confronted by all, and he's just tearing everybody apart that comes up to him. And eventually Falcone, I think it was the Penguin's like, whoa, slow down, we can talk.
Easy, sweetheart.
Yeah, exactly.
Easy, sweetheart.
That was great.
Yeah.
But then when he goes back to the bar, he goes in as Bruce Wayne in a hoodie, but then changes into his Batman costume while he's in, and he turns off the lights. And then he goes upstairs. That scene in the hallway where he's basically, there's like 6 guys coming after him, shooting automatic weapons at him, and all you're seeing is the muzzle flash, and him just basically
bullets bouncing off his armor,
tearing each one of these guys up. That was an amazing scene. Yeah. And I'm telling you that my favorite scene in the movie was when they had finally gone to the Riddler's apartment, found out where he had been hiding out the whole time, went to his apartment, found out what his real purpose was, and then went, to confront him in Arkham Asylum. And he felt like the Riddler knew who he was, because he was like talking about how it's all about the Waynes, it's all about Bruce Wayne, all about Bruce Wayne. And he's thinking, my God, this guy knows who I am.
Yeah.
And the moment he realizes he doesn't know who he is, he's basically just saying, he's saying that Bruce Wayne was the one that got away. So he's like, okay. Because he said to Detective Gordon, he said, well, I guess this is the end. He goes, the end of what? He goes, this whole Batman thing. So he knows that he's going there, and the guy's going to out him as Bruce Wayne. And we all, as the audience, feel like that's what's going to happen. And then he realizes after a while that he doesn't know, and he said, okay. But then he realizes also that, he's got another card up his sleeve, and he's got something else planned, and that's where we hear the bombs going off and everything else.
Yeah, the Riddler's so disturbed. He thought that the Batman was on his team, like part of.
We got them all. We got them all except that Bruce Wayne. He got away, you know. And he's like, oh, okay, So I thought that was an awesome scene as well. So I just, again, there were so many of them. Really, really enjoyable movie. So what do we think this means for the future of the Batman franchise? Again, we had the final scene of the movie is the Riddler in Arkham, very disturbed and distraught over basically being thwarted, being comforted by the Joker, and they end up, teaming up or partnering up at some point in time, we assume. But so we assume the Joker's coming. We hear rumors of potentially Mr. Freeze coming to the franchise in some capacity.
Matt Reeves wants to bring in, and I think he has an idea.
Is it going to be Arnold?
It's not going to be Arnold, but I think he has.
I'm full of Freeze body.
Chill out,
Batman.
I think he has a vision of how he would like to portray Mr. Freeze. I don't know if we're going to see the Joker. I think it's been done a lot, and I think he threw that in there as a nod. I
think
fans.
The next not logical one. I mean, I think they're going to show the rise of the Penguin character and the Penguin becoming
I think they'll do that in a HBO Max series.
Yeah, but that may be one that's in the next movie.
And the rumor is they're going to do an Arkham series as well.
Yeah,
but we'll see what happens. But I definitely hope and pray that Matt Reeves' vision and the Batman 2. I hope he's moving forward with that, and I hope he does something.
I think
it's successful enough that I think they need to consider it.
Look, we saw this with the Joker movie. You can take these characters that can be individually compelling, wrap a good story with good actors, and have a great movie. And he did that. This wasn't tied into the DCEU. This wasn't tied into the Justice League. There was none of that. But we still enjoyed the movie as a standalone movie by itself. What this means for the larger DCEU and how the future of the Batman character in the DC franchise and where it fits into the Justice, I don't know. Look, if Matt Reeves did nothing but make these Batman movies, just like Christopher Nolan did, makes the Batman movies for the next 6 to 8 years, I think we'll be entertained.
So Gavin Klingham's question to me was, do you think that this Batman will ever live in the same universe as the Joker? The latest Joker, the standalone Joker. Joaquin Phoenix Joker. Would they ever be in a movie together?
So I think the logical explanation is they could explain that very easily, that they are both in the same universe.
Okay.
But we just saw a different actor, not Joaquin Phoenix, playing the Joker in this movie, we assume. So I doubt it. That would be kind of cool, but I doubt it.
Yeah.
Right? Why wouldn't you put Joaquin Phoenix in there in Arkham at the end instead of Barry Keoghan, right? So that's the reason I say no.
Same here. That was my answer. I think that the Joker was a standalone, a one-shot standalone movie, and I don't think we'll ever see that.
I think the more logical thing that could happen, although part of me doesn't want it to happen, the logical thing that could happen is when we get the Flash movie later this year.
Interesting.
Flashpoint could integrate the current DCEU with Matt Reeves' version of Batman.
Nice.
And bring that could bring Robert Pattinson in as Batman. Hey, the timeline gets reset. He goes back in Flashpoint and something happens, and then when he fixes everything and comes back, things are different. And one of the different things is it's not Ben Affleck anymore, it's Robert Pattinson. That could happen. I doubt it will happen.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think that's Matt Reeves' vision, but again, DC and Warner Brothers have a lot to say about this, so I don't know. Who knows?
That was my answer. I didn't think they would ever be in the same. Yeah.
But overall, we had a great time, and it was worth the money we spent on it. And man,
right up there.
Yeah, it was very, very.
I'm
well
seeing
done.
it again Wednesday night. Yep.
Yeah, you're seeing it again.
Yeah.
Boy, another 3-hour investment. That soon, huh?
Yeah. I got to take my little daughter to it. Well, little daughter, Gabrielle. I'm taking her Wednesday night. Yeah.
It'll be fun. Professor,
bell's ringing.
All right. Well, that's it for us this week. We'll be back next week for more Super Talk. To get in touch with us on social media, hit us up via email, supertalkpodcast@outlook.com or @supertalkpod on Twitter. Until then, stay super, everyone.
Everyone likes this game.
And we're out.
Haters gonna hate. And I know you can't wait to see the Black Viper. Round and round she goes. Hardly no one knows. In her black pantyhose. Black Viper. She is fire on ice. She skates around you twice. Whisper